It is a done deal. We have the top four. It is not. It's what I expected in the top four, but it's not what I thought it should be. But you know what? And I will say this with a lot of pride. This is not a situation that I am going to completely riot. It's not a situation anyone should get mad at. Oklahoma has a good resume. Oklahoma does not have a bad loss. And Oklahoma also has a top offense. And yes, you may disagree with it, like I do. But we're still going to get, a matchup that, in my opinion, is not the most favorable for Oklahoma in terms of the 4 seeds that we're getting, which has the best chance to win against Alabama. Oklahoma would have the least amount out of those 3 teams, but it is a matchup that you can live with. And yes, Oklahoma, in my opinion, will probably get blown out of the water. But it's still a good win nonetheless for the Sooners to beat Texas, and it's a good job by the playoff committee doing what they felt was necessary in putting them in. Now, I will say I did have a problem, and this is a pretty minuscule because at the end of the day, it does not matter. It is really minor, but they ranked Georgia ahead of Ohio State, and the reason why I think that's a problem is because you have to be more consistent. When you're telling me that Georgia is better than Ohio State, you got to tell me that Georgia's better than Oklahoma. Because at this point, you can't look at body of work. You got to go with eye test. And the only way you can really definitively say that Oklahoma is better than Georgia is this. Hey, we got the better resume. And that's what you got to say when it comes to Oklahoma being ahead of Georgia. But Georgia being ahead of Ohio State has to be, hey, eye test. So if you look at resume, Ohio State has Georgia beat. So why isn't Ohio State 5, Georgia 6? And I didn't put the pieces together until I heard it from my good old buddy Joel Klatt. It's because of the floor of each of these teams, starting with 3 to 6. Because there's, of course, no floor that we really saw that was embarrassing for Alabama or Clemson. But we saw Notre Dame. Their floor, their worst point of the season, was struggling against Ball State and Vanderbilt and Pitt and teams like that. But they never lost, so you cannot punish them, and they have the best floor out of all of them. Next, it would actually be Oklahoma with the next best floor because Oklahoma, their floor was losing by 3 points to a ranked Texas team in which they just beat. Now, how about 5, Georgia? Their floor was losing to a top 10 LSU team by 20. Ohio State's floor, well, simple, 29 points to Purdue. And I don't think that should be the do-all, end-all, and that's why I don't necessarily like how they ranked it, but I can live with it. You know why? Because Ohio State put themselves in that situation. Georgia put themselves in that situation. Oklahoma put themselves in that conversation and in the field of 4 because, and whether or not you agree with it or not, I don't per se agree with it. I can't be too much against it. Whether or not you like it, Oklahoma deserves to get the benefit of the doubt, and it's because, and it's quite simple to me, it's because you have a team that lost a close game. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will go through all the bowl games here in a minute. Again, let me just take you through this. Trying to figure something out. Sorry about this. I'm very lackluster in what I am providing for you guys. All right. So what I'm going to go ahead and say before I get these bowl games announced, we got matchups, and we will just look forward from this point on. And let's just start by talking about the college football playoff. I think Alabama has a significant edge due to the fact that they are a more complete team than Oklahoma. They're going to be able to really run away with this one, in my opinion. So Alabama has a clear advantage in the Orange Bowl. The Cotton Bowl, Clemson has a clear advantage just because they play more balanced football on both sides of the ball, more athletes in space. I'm not high on Trevor Lawrence, but I can deal with it. And Clemson, I'm not thinking straight today. I don't know why. But Clemson, I'm just going to go through and announce all the bowl games. I'm not going to give you a breakdown yet because there will be a time for that when I'm more prepared. Clemson versus Notre Dame in the Cotton Bowl, Orange Bowl, number 1 Alabama versus number 4 Oklahoma. Both of those games will be live on Bash CFB Network. If you do not have access to ESPN on December 29th, and if you don't have access on January 7th, I will also have the National Championship from Santa Clara. The Selection Committee Bowl games on New Year's 6 capped off Georgia versus Texas. And that one will probably be broadcasted here on Bash CFB Network. None of this is guaranteed, but I'm going to try to do all the New Year's 6 games. That is on January 1st. All New Year's 6 games here. The Rose Bowl, Ohio State versus Washington. The Fiesta Bowl, LSU and UCF. And Florida versus Michigan in the Peach Bowl, December 29th. Now, I was very surprised to see Texas there over West Virginia. The fact that West Virginia beat them and has one less loss than the Longhorns. Very interesting for me to see that. Moving on to the other bowl games, and we are going to go date by date with the other ones. So starting December 15th, we have a total of 5 bowl games. The New Mexico Bowl is North Texas versus Utah State. The Cure Bowl is Tulane versus Louisiana. The Las Vegas Bowl is Arizona State versus Fresno State. The Raycom Media Camellia Bowl is Eastern Michigan and Georgia Southern. The December 15th game, final one, New Orleans Bowl at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Appalachian State versus Middle Tennessee. December 18th, on Tuesday after that, in the Boca Raton Bowl, UAB versus Northern Illinois. And the day after that, on the Wednesday, December 19th, you got Ohio versus San Diego State. Moving on to the Thursday. In the Gasparilla Bowl, Marshall versus South Florida. In the December 21st Bowls on this Friday before Christmas, you have Toledo versus FIU in the Bahamas Bowl, and the Idaho Potato Bowl on this day as well, BYU versus Western Michigan. December 22nd is another big day for bowl games, as it's the final bowl day, or the final day for bowl games before Christmas on this Saturday, as I don't know why they're not doing New Year's Eve for the Hawaii Bowl, but we'll get there. At noon Eastern on that day, the Birmingham Bowl is going to be held between Memphis and Wake Forest. Probably the most attractive. I mean, there's an argument there with the Las Vegas Bowl, but to me, maybe the most attractive bowl game in here before the mark of Christmas. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Man, I'm not thinking straight today. And later on that day, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you got Army versus Houston in the Armed Forces Bowl. And 7 o'clock later that day as well, the Dollar General Bowl between Buffalo and Troy. And squeezing a game in there at 10:30 Eastern Time. I believe it's 5:30 in Hawaii time. The Hawaii Bowl. Hawaii versus Louisiana Tech. Now heading to December 26th. You got the First Responder Bowl. We got 3 bowl games. First Responder Bowl between Boston College and Boise State. The Quick Lane Bowl on at 5:15 on that day. Minnesota and Georgia Tech. And the Cheez-It Bowl at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, ECU, and Cal. On the 27th, the Independence Bowl is Temple and Duke at 1:30 p.m. And a 5:15 p.m. slot is going to be Wisconsin versus Miami in the Pinstripe Bowl out there in New York. Baylor and Vanderbilt is the nightcapper in the Texas Bowl at 9 p.m. December 28th is another day with 3 bowl games with the exact same time slots. 1:30, Auburn versus Purdue in the Music City Bowl. Camping World Bowl is going to be West Virginia and Syracuse. And the Alamo Bowl, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, Iowa State versus Washington State. December 29th, not including, these aren't including New Year's 6, by the way. So December 29th, in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Belk Bowl, South Carolina versus Virginia, and the Arizona Bowl in Tucson at 1:15. That's 12:30 if I didn't say so. 1:15 on CBS Sports Network. Nevada versus Arkansas State. The Military Bowl on December 31st is between Cincinnati and Virginia Tech. The Red Box Bowl also on that day at 3 p.m. Michigan State versus Oregon. And Liberty Bowl is going to be between Missouri and Oklahoma State at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Interesting to see this matchup again after seeing it a few years ago in the Cotton Bowl in a former Big 12 game. Holiday Bowl at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, a very attractive bowl game. This one's on FS1. Northwestern versus Utah. Good old Joel Klatt and they might have the Red Box Bowl between Michigan State and Oregon. Never mind. Texas A&M versus NC State in the Tax Slayer Bowl at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and this one's spotted in a weird spot. But the Sun Bowl on December 31st, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Pitt against Stanford. And the final 2 games that we have not mentioned yet, the Outback Bowl between Mississippi State and Iowa at noon on January 1st, and the 1 o'clock game on January 1st, Kentucky versus Penn State, the Citrus Bowl, which is a shame because we got so many New Year's 6 bowls on that day to the point where we got a 1 o'clock slot, a 5 o'clock slot, and an 8:45 slot. It would be hard to see Kentucky versus Penn State for many people, but that is on locally. So if you do not have ESPN and you want to keep an eye on these New Year's 6 bowls on January 1st, hopefully I have all 6 New Year's 6 bowls and then the national championship game. But of course, we'll watch the Citrus Bowl and my broadcast. Their bowl games are sometimes these are or sorry, sometime before these games are played. I don't know what I'm thinking today. I'm all out of sorts. I was going to have a different type of video, but guess I'm not in it. So, like I said, thank you, subscribe, and like, and I will see you guys next time.